The fall equinox marks a moment of balance in our year, a time when day and night are almost equal. It's a transition that invites us to reflect, celebrate, and connect with the natural world. The fall equinox, also known as the autumnal equinox, occurs when the sun appears to cross the celestial equator from north to south. Typically, this happens on or around September 22nd or 23rd and this year, it's going to occur tomorrow at 5:40 a.m. Pacific time, which is September 22nd. Here's a little bit of the science behind the equinox. Earth's tilt is at 23.5 degrees. So Earth is actually tilted something like this. And that's what's responsible for the changing of the seasons, of course. Sometimes we're more directly in line with the sun because of that angle, and sometimes we're less directly in line with the sun. And that accounts for the different seasons. On the equinox, the sun shines directly on the equator, resulting in nearly equal daylight and nighttime hours worldwide. Now, all year long, we see the sunrise and sunset at different points in the horizon during the year. The sun doesn't always rise directly east. However, at the start of spring and fall on the equinoxes, the sun rises due east and the sun sets due west. And then as we move from fall to winter, the sun's path drifts south. Many cultures have long celebrated the equinox, such as the harvest festivals in ancient Rome and Greece and the Mid-Autumn Festival in China. The Mid-Autumn Festival in China, which is both in China and East Asia, has been observed for thousands of years, coinciding with the full moon closest to the fall equinox. The festival is marked by moon gazing, sharing moon cakes, which are sweet pastries filled with lotus seed paste, lighting lanterns, and gathering with family. The full moon is considered a symbol of unity and harmony. Chuseok is a Korean harvest festival, and it's one of Korea's most important holidays, celebrated on the full moon nearest the fall equinox. It has its roots in ancient shamanistic rituals and harvest celebrations. Families gather to honor their ancestors by visiting ancestral graves, offering food, and performing rituals. It's also a time for feasting with traditional foods like songpyeon, which are rice cakes, and seasonal fruits. In Japan, Shuba no Hi is a public holiday, and it's celebrated as part of a week known as Higan, which honors ancestors and reflects on the balance of nature. During this time, people visit family graves, clean the burial sites, and offer food and prayers to honor their ancestors. It is also a time for reflection on the balance of life. In Western Europe and in Christian traditions, Michaelmas, or sometimes pronounced Michaelmas, is celebrated on September 29th. It's a Christian feast day in honor of Saint Michael the Archangel. It marks the end of the harvest and the start of autumn in many European countries. Traditional customs include feasting and baking Michaelmas bannock, a type of bread. Of course, there's Thanksgiving in the fall, not necessarily at the time of the equinox, but many traditions celebrate fall as a time of harvest. In North America, Thanksgiving is celebrated in the fall, in October in Canada and November in the US, with origins linked to much older harvest feasts. In ancient Europe, they had what was called harvest home or ingathering. In pre-Christian Europe, many agricultural communities celebrated the harvest with festivals like Harvest Home in England, or ingathering, marking the gathering of the last crops. These festivals often included feasts, dancing, and rituals of gratitude for the crops. The last sheaf of grain was often saved and made into a corn dolly, symbolizing the spirit of the harvest. In the Druid tradition, there is the Alban Elfed, meaning the light of the water. This is the Druidic name for the fall equinox, Alban Elfed. It's a time of balance and preparation for the darker half of the year. Druids, ancient Druids and modern Druids, celebrate by gathering in nature, performing rituals that honor the changing seasons, and reflecting on the balance of light and dark. Many indigenous people in North America and other regions have traditional harvest celebrations tied to the changing seasons, including the fall equinox. These celebrations often include giving thanks to Earth for its abundance, offering food and prayers to the spirits or ancestors, and participating in communal feasts, songs, and dances. Mabon, or Mabon, is a modern pagan celebration observed by Wiccans and neo-pagans, inspired by ancient harvest festivals. It occurs on or around the fall equinox. It's a time of thanksgiving for the harvest and a celebration of nature's abundance. Many practice rituals that involve offerings to nature spirits, setting up altars with seasonal fruits and vegetables, and spending time in nature. And the Rosicrucian Memorial or Pyramid Ceremony tomorrow has a lot of these practices in common. We definitely honor our ancestors, honor the people who made it possible for us to benefit from the Rosicrucian teachings today. Rosicrucians observe the solstices and the equinoxes to remember that we are part of something much bigger. There are cycles bigger than the day or the work week, that we're part of these big seasonal changes when summer is transformed into fall. And we can observe nature and the changes that occur in nature to help us be aware of these changes. No doubt you're aware that animals prepare for winter by migrating, gathering food, or going into hibernation in the fall. We can be mindfully aware of the changing environment. We can notice the smells, sounds, and sights of fall. Think of a fragrance that reminds you of autumn. Try to really be there with that fragrance. For me, it's the sweet smell of maple trees. That smell is so strong in the fall, and it just reminds me of autumn. Now, think of a sound that may remind you of autumn. For me, it's the sound of leaves crunching as I walk. What are some sounds that remind you of autumn? And what is a feeling that reminds you of autumn? What comes to mind for me is that comforting feeling of a light jacket on a chilly day. We've left summer behind, and just how good that feels when the weather's cooler and we're comforted by a light jacket. So is there a feeling that you associate with fall? You probably have some sights that remind you of fall, and especially memorable for many of us is the way that the leaves change colors in the fall. The fall equinox marks the start of the colorful transformation of leaves. In the fall, because of changes in the length of daylight and changes in temperature, leaves stop their food-making process. And it's more about the length of daylight than it is about the temperature. It's so amazing when you consider this whole process. The vessels that carry water to the leaf and sugars to the rest of the plant are closed off as there's less light, as the days become shorter. And a layer of cells known as the abscission layer starts to grow between the leaf stalk and the twig holding it. So, you have the branch and then the little twig, and it creates this special type of layer made of cells so that eventually it cuts the leaf off from the rest of the tree. These cells serve to slowly cut the leaf from the plant without leaving an open wound. As the leaves fall, the plant enters dormancy, saving its energy for the great bud burst of spring. As we know, chlorophyll helps plants to absorb energy from the sun as they undergo the process of photosynthesis. This process slows down and then stops when there is less daylight. As the chlorophyll breaks down, the green color disappears and the yellow to orange colors become visible and give the leaves part of their fall splendor. So the green is the chlorophyll, and as that is no longer there, the yellow and orange that was always there, but we couldn't see it because of the green, begins to show. Some of the red was also there before, but also as part of the fall process, some red is added to the leaves. Because the green color was masking other color pigments, we start to see leaves change color into yellows and reds. According to the U.S. Forest Service, a succession of warm, sunny days and cool, crisp, but not freezing nights seems to bring out the most spectacular color displays. So that's what makes the most colorful fall foliage, a succession of warm, sunny days and cool, crisp, but not freezing nights. Again, Rosicrucians celebrate the solstices and equinoxes to remind us that we are part of something much more grand than our individual lives, our community lives. We are part of the universe. With longer nights after the equinox, it's a great time for stargazing. We can look for constellations like Pegasus and Andromeda. Also, there are a number of full moon events. The harvest moon is the full moon closest to the equinox. It's often celebrated for its brightness and significance. And this happened, I think it was 4 days ago. The full moon closest to the fall equinox is the harvest moon. That was also a supermoon. And a supermoon means that it's when the moon is closest to Earth. By small amounts during its various cycles, the moon is closer or farther away from Earth. And when it's closest, it looks biggest. And in case you missed the supermoon that occurred just a few days ago, we have 2 more coming up. There are 4 in a row. There was August, September, and then October and November's full moons will also be supermoons. And for this harvest supermoon that occurred a couple of days ago, or 4 days ago, was also a lunar eclipse. So it was a big time related to lunar activities. The spiritual meaning of the fall equinox includes balance and reflection. The equinox symbolizes balance, a perfect time to reflect on the balance in our own lives. And as I mentioned, in many ancient traditions and traditions around the world, the fall equinox is associated with the harvest. Many people celebrate with seasonal foods like apples, pumpkins, squash, and root vegetables that often ripen in the fall. We can use the equinox as a metaphor for finding balance in our life. Consider what to harvest and what to let go. There are 2 sayings regarding balance in our lives that I think really reflect what we can do at this time of year. Bruce Lee said, "It's not the daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away at the inessentials." So when we want balance in our lives, it's not just adding what we want more of, it's also decreasing what's not essential in our life. Betsy Jacobson said, "Balance is not better time management, but better boundary management. Balance means making choices and enjoying those choices. So I invite you to consider now, what do you need more or less of in your life to experience a harmonic balance? Let's start with, what do you need more of in your life? To have perfect balance in your life, what do you need more of? See yourself embracing and giving thanks for what you need more of in your life. See yourself experiencing it. And the effect that that has on you. Mentally, what mental effect will this have on you by having more of this in your life? What emotional effect will this have on you by having more of this in your life, creating more harmony, bringing more of it into your life? What emotional effect? What physical effect will this have on your life, that you are embracing more of this in your life? And by having more of this aspect in your life, creating more balance, what spiritual effect does this have? What effect does this have on your spiritual life, on how you contribute to the world? See yourself embracing and giving thanks for having more of what you need in your life to create a more balanced life. Now also see a harmonious balance in your masculine and feminine aspects. How can you create more balance in your being? However you view masculine and feminine, how can you have more of that balance in your life? And what's one thing you can do to create more balance in your life this week? Choose a small step to start this process this week. Now, to make room for that harmony in your life of what you want more of, think for a moment of what you no longer need. What is an inessential that you can set aside? Making room for what it is you just said you wanted that would create more harmony in your life. What is something inessential in your life that's creating an imbalance? And see yourself giving this to Mother Earth. See her mulching it, putting it to good use, It may have served you at one time, and now it's gotten out of balance. So give what you no longer need to Mother Earth. And as you do this, you create this space in which what it was you just said you needed more of can enter and create harmony in your being on all levels. You've made room for balance in your life. So mote it be. Thank you very much for participating in this meditation.